There are 7 saltwater boats sitting on dealer lots and in driveways right now, starting under $20,000, that will outlast almost every flashy $50,000 boat parked next to them. Nobody is making YouTube videos about them. No celebrity captain is running one on television. They are plain, they are a little ugly, and they will flat out refuse to die, decade after decade, in the same salt water that turns a glamorous boat into a write-off. Here is why, and here are the 7. Most cheap boats are cheap for one reason. The builder cut corners exactly where you cannot see them. Wood stringers can look fine for years until water finally finds a screw hole, and then they quietly rot from the inside while the gel coat up top still looks brand new. Thin laminate over a foam core with nothing structural underneath the buyer's attention. That is how a budget boat becomes a write-off at 15 years old, even though it looked perfectly fine in the listing photos. But there is a small group of builders who went the opposite direction entirely. They kept the sticker price low by skipping the showroom flash, the leather seats, the brand name premium that gets stamped onto the hull, while spending the real money exactly where saltwater actually attacks a hull, day after day, year after year. These 7 boats are proof that cheap and disposable are not the same thing. Let's start with number 7. Number 7, the Carolina Skiff. The company traces back to a flat-bottom utility boat design used on North Carolina's Roanoke Island generations ago, and the modern Carolina Skiff has been refining that simple, durable idea for more than 30 years out of a factory in Georgia. The construction is patented for a reason. High-density, closed-cell foam logs are custom-shaped for each hull, hand-laid with woven fiberglass, then everything is hand-rolled to squeeze out air pockets, with extra reinforcement at the stress points, all before the hull ever comes out of the mold. Zero wood anywhere in that structure. The company has literally parked a loaded tractor-trailer wrecker, front-end weight alone over 13,000 pounds, on top of a hull and measured barely a quarter inch of deflection. They have cut a hull into 3 separate pieces on camera to show that each piece still floats on its own. A brand new model starts in the low $20,000 range, fully rigged. It comes with a structural hull warranty that runs up to 10 years. And because there is no wood to rot, a 30-year-old Carolina Skiff with ugly faded gel coat is mechanically often just as sound as the day it left the factory. It's not a pretty boat. It's a boat that refuses to give saltwater anything to chew on. Number 6. The Sea Chaser, Carolina Skiff's own step-up line built specifically for serious offshore saltwater work. It comes out of that same factory with that exact same wood-free foam and fiberglass formula, just shaped into a deeper V, more open water capable hull with the kind of bolted down backed deck hardware a real center console needs. You can get into a genuine offshore rated boat for not dramatically more than the base Skiff costs, because the company is not reinventing how it builds boats for the pricier model. It is just pointing the same proven construction at rougher water. Same factory, same materials, same warranty backing, just more capability for the dollar. Number 5, the Tracker Pro Guide and Targa lines. Tracker does not have a glamorous reputation. It's the boat brand everyone associates with big box sporting goods stores, born in 1978 when Bass Pro Shops founder Johnny Morris introduced the original Bass Tracker, the first nationally marketed boat, motor, and trailer package, originally priced at just $2,995 complete. Tracker has remained the top-selling fishing boat brand in America ever since. But look past the big box reputation, because Tracker backs nearly its entire fishing lineup with a lifetime structural hull warranty, a guarantee few brands at any price point are willing to make. You can rig a real saltwater capable boat in the high teens to low 20,000s, brand new, with a name brand outboard already on the back and a trailer included, and the hull underneath that bargain price is warranted for as long as you own it. If you've made it this far, do yourself a favor and subscribe. Number 4. The Maycraft. Founder Kenneth May has spent more than 30 years building Carolina-style fiberglass workboats out of North Carolina, boats designed from the start for commercial watermen who needed something that could take a beating every single day and still go back out the next morning, with a sharp bow entry to cut through chop and a moderate transom D-dries for efficient running. The company's newer hulls have moved to all composite construction, and even the brand's own marketing leans on one word over and over: tough. You will find Maycrafts that are 20 years old and 25 years old still running charters and still crabbing, because the hull underneath the modest price tag was never the part the company cut corners on. The honest caveat, since older used examples can still turn up wood in certain deck and transom areas, is to check a used hull's specific construction year before you buy. The same advice that applies to almost every builder on this list. Number 3, the original Mako. Older Makos, especially from the 1970s through the 1990s, are solid fiberglass below the waterline on every single model, with no coring of any kind down there. That is exactly the part of a boat saltwater attacks hardest, and exactly where a cored hull eventually delaminates. Mako is now part of the same White River Marine Group that builds Tracker, and the brand's owners describe Mako as having been delivering on that durable, overbuilt reputation for half a century. There is an entire dedicated community online today, decades later, with owners trading detailed diagrams of exactly how each model's stringers and decks were reinforced, because the hulls are still running and still worth maintaining properly. A clean used Mako from that era often costs a fraction of a new equivalent center console, and the part that actually matters under the waterline was built solid from day one. Number 2, the Parker. Founder Linwood Parker grew up on Harker's Island, North Carolina, around self-taught fishermen and boatwrights who knew exactly what a good hull was worth, and he started building boats out of Beaufort in the late 1960s on that same philosophy: quality and reliability over chasing volume. Parker still builds only around 450 boats a year, with each one taking roughly 6 weeks to assemble, and the company does something almost nobody else in this price range admits to anymore. It still uses wood on purpose in specific structural areas like its stringers, and is upfront about exactly why. Their position is that a wood stringer system, fully encapsulated in fiberglass, so the wood never actually touches water, holds its strength without flexing over decades, while a foam core stringer can eventually split internally and let the fiberglass skins flex independently until the structure itself starts to fail. Whether you side with Parker or with the all-composite builders on this list, the hull itself below the waterline is solid glass, with no core to delaminate, and Parker's own reported customer claims run under 1% of total production, a remarkable number for any boat builder at any price. People who own one tend to buy the next size up from the same brand, and there is a long-running owners community built entirely around boats that are still fishing hard at 20 and 30 years old. Number 1, the Boston Whaler Montauk. This is the one boat on the list almost everyone has heard of, and it is number 1 for a reason. The Montauk has been in continuous production since 1973, built using Boston Whaler's Unibond process, a method the company has used since founder Dick Fisher started the brand in 1958. The hull and an inner liner are laid up separately in fiberglass, locked together inside the mold, and the cavity between them is injected with rigid foam that expands under pressure, fills every void, and chemically bonds both skins into a single unified structure. There is no internal void space left to trap water, and no core material to delaminate. Fisher proved the concept in 1961 by having a lumberjack saw cut clean through the hull of a 13-foot whaler while he sat calmly in the stern, then motored the back half away under its own power, with the bow section still floating on its own. Boston Whaler's own documentation confirms the finished hull carries up to 2.5 times the flotation the Coast Guard actually requires. Original Montauks from the 1970s are still surveying clean today, more than 50 years later, and a good used one routinely costs less than a third of what a comparably sized new center console runs. No wood, no void space, just one bonded structure that simply does not give Saltwater a place to start. So here's the pattern across all 7. None of them are the boat your dock neighbor brags about at the ramp. None of them show up wrapped in carbon fiber graphics and a wraparound LED light bar at the big boat show. What they share is that the builder spent the real money exactly below the waterline, in the stringers, in the core material, in the bond between the hull and the deck. They saved the money everywhere a buyer would actually notice on a showroom floor: the upholstery, the badge, the dealer markup that comes with a famous name. That is the exact opposite of how most cheap boats get built. Corners get cut below the waterline because nobody is checking there until it is too late. That is exactly why these 7 are still out there working long after flashier, pricier boats from the same era have already been hauled to the dump. One quick word of caution before you go shopping: cheap and well-built does not mean maintenance-free, and that distinction matters more in saltwater than almost anywhere else. Even a wood-free, foam-filled hull still needs its drain plugs checked before every trip, its battery terminals cleaned of corrosion, its trailer bearings packed, and a freshwater rinse after every saltwater run to keep salt from working into hardware and fittings over the years. The boats on this list survive multiple decades because the structure underneath was engineered to last, not because they are magic, and neglect can shorten the life of even the toughest hull on this list. Buy smart, maintain it consistently, and one of these 7 will likely outlast the next 3 boats you would have bought instead, for a fraction of what any of those flashier boats cost new. If this opened your eyes to a boat you had already written off, let me know which one in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.